Right, so this is the results show. We both saw the fight. I think we can both say that we were both totally wrong on what was going to happen. Lopez,
You changed your mind.
you know, no, no, no. I mean,
I was trying to make you look good, brother, but go ahead. We
no.
both thought Loma was going to win.
Even if I said that Lopez won, because I sort of said that he might catch him. I didn't think it was going to be competitive or whatever it was. But what do you think, Mike?
Actually, he gave him a boxing lesson for half of the fight.
Lopez did, yeah.
As did. So that's a reversal of form. I think all this night, I never bought into Lomachenko as a savior or as a pound for pound best fighter in the world, any of that nonsense. I stick with Terrence Bud Crawford until proven otherwise. But Lomachenko, the mystique is gone. He may never fight Lopez again. I think Lopez is going to jump up to 140. At least his father says he wants him to. His father's calling himself Nostradamus. I wonder if his father ever heard of Nostradamus till somebody told him who Nostradamus was.
You can't underestimate the guy. I mean, he believed in his son. Um, you know, I what I took away. I mean, I thought that the fight was going to go about from round two the way that it did in the second half of the fight for Lomachenko, because I thought he did very well in the second half of the fight. The first half, he did nothing, and I think it had to do with the fact that he was too small. I personally didn't think that that was going to be the case, so he was afraid of the power. So the first, half of the fight, he was running, he wasn't throwing anything. Not that Lopez was necessarily landing cleanly, but when nothing is happening and one guy's going forward, I mean, you give him the rounds. That's how it works.
However, there was no sense of urgency even in round 10, 11, and 12. In fact, the 12th and final round, I think, was one of the most dominant rounds by Lopez.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I do feel like Lomachenko poured it on in those middle rounds. He had him staggered a couple of times. There were a couple of instances where he really landed clean, effective, and he won those rounds. I would say bigger than Lopez did some of the earlier rounds.
That gets us to a subject I've been waiting for, and that's scoring. I scored the fight 116, 112. I gave rounds one through one through seven. First 7 rounds I gave to Lopez, and then a few rounds for Loma. But we got to talk about Julie Lederman. Normally a reliable, consistent judge. She always favors a slick boxer. I don't think either one was that slick in this fight, but she's way off base at 119, a 10-point edge for Lopez. I think that's crazy.
I mean, I absolutely agree. I watched this fight with the sound off. I had no idea who was scoring what. I only found out he won when, he started jumping around the ring. Then I went online. I saw the score was 119, 117. That's crazy to me. I thought it fell right into the area of, listen, maybe Lomachenko 7-5, but okay, if not, that's fine. Draw, like Ward had it. I found out later he had, I saw that he had a draw. A win for Lopez, 7-5, 8-4. That range, that's okay. Once you go beyond that, I mean, I don't know where those judges are looking. I mean, they're a different fight.
I'm glad we brought up this topic again, but one thing I thought about it, you notice in the fight earlier with the knockout artist Edgar Berlanga.
Yeah.
Every time he threw a punch and it landed, you heard like the crack of leather. And they had it in the bubble. There were very few people, maybe 100 people around ringside. I wonder if the judges never used to be able to hear the cracking leather because there would be 20,000 people in an arena. But I wonder if the sound of punches being landed and connected with, I wonder if the sound itself is affecting judges.
That's an interesting point. I mean, I couldn't really judge that because, like I said, I had the volume turned completely off. I was watching everything on mute.
3 or 4 decades ago, there was I won't say a movement, but some thought was given and some discussion was given to placing judges in soundproof booths so they wouldn't be influenced by crowd noise, by cheering, by the sound of punches landing. And I don't think that's such a bad idea today.
Well, I mean, to me, one interesting idea. I remember the debate over the Holyfield Lewis, one of the rounds, and who was it? One of the female judges, and there was one round where they asked her why she scored the clear round for, like, I think Lewis, but she scored it for Holyfield. She said she was sitting on one side of the ring. She couldn't see the punches from the side of the ring that she was on.
In her defense, I think it was Patricia Jarman Morse.
That's what it was. Okay, yeah, that's who it was.
She's a veteran judge. I could tell you a funny story about her, but we'll leave that for later.
But my point to
she was a single lady at that time. WBA assigned her to do a Virgil Hill light heavyweight title fight, and she demurred. She refused to accept the assignment. And the WBA asked why, and she said, "It's my business." She hung up. She had been dating Virgil Hill at the time, and they had a breakup. So that shows some honesty on her part.
That's true, but going back to yeah, that's an interesting story. How would she have scored that fight? The question is, if that was indeed the case, and I mean, I'm not saying that there's all corruption. Sometimes judges can't see it, but if they were sitting in a separate room where they had a TV, they had a replay, like we could see different angles when we're watching the fight that a judge can't see the same way. So maybe
I think you're onto something, Slava. Why shouldn't they watch it in a private room in the back of the arena? Why do they need to be at ringside? They don't need to be at ringside with all the equipment we have today, the audio equipment, video equipment. I mean, you look at the National Football League, baseball also, but I think primarily the NBA and the NFL, when they have these officiating disputes and controversy on the field, there's somebody in New York in the NFL office in New York looks at a video and makes a decision. I mean, as far as where Steve Weisfeld, I think, is okay at 117, 111. Tim Cheatham of Las Vegas had it the same way I did, so naturally I agree with him, 16, 12. But Julie Lederman, she might have been on the planet Mars for all with that 10-point decision.
Yeah, and I mean, I've never, I've seen her judge fights. I wouldn't say that she's like a necessary. Again, I'm just trying to rack my brain. I wouldn't say she's questionable. Like Harold Lederman's daughter. I always thought she was okay. Some people saying she's like incompetent. Maybe I haven't watched some of the fights that she judged, but.
Interesting note about her fiance is a judge also, Max DeLuca from California. Where are you going to get this kind of gossip? Nowhere else but on Retro Boxing.
That's interesting. No.
I wonder if the two of them have ever worked the same fight, which would make it even more interesting.
Well, I mean, if they ever get married and then get divorced, imagine irreconcilable differences. I scored the fight for so-and-so. He saw it a different way. I mean, what do you do?
As a judge, I would say you favored the counterpuncher. You're out.
That's right. All right. So listen, Mike, before we go, the question is, what do these two guys do now? I mean, my take is Lomachenko should go back down if he's going to continue fighting. Lopez, I would love to see him fight Gervonta Davis. That was my thought from yesterday.
That would be an excellent fight. That's a great publicity fight. That'd be an excellent fight. But, you have the situation where Davis, if I'm not mistaken, is with Al Heyman. Always difficult to make. But Bob Arum is in the catbird seat. He's got a new superstar in Lopez, and certainly he's a superstar. Props to him and his father and his whole team, his managerial team. This kid, the future looks brilliant for him. Loma, not so much.
32.
If he goes back down, he's not going to have the same mystique.
Definitely not. But that was one of the questions I had with regard to him. He was always talking about his legacy and so on. I mean, in order to have that Manny Pacquiao or whatever legacy, you've got to be able to go up in weight and fight. And I mean, based on yesterday, I just don't see how he can, I think that's gone. That's,
Errors were made by Lomachenko, and errors were made and the aura is gone. He'll never get it back. As I said, I never bought into him being the pound for pound king. Of course, the whole title of pound for pound king is mythical anyway, but it's always fun to discuss and debate.
No, I mean, listen, I told you, I felt he was based on accomplishment. I felt he was worthwhile. You know, I felt that was a good argument to make, but obviously,
So who do you put at number one now, pound for pound?
I mean, it would have to be Crawford. I don't see how it would be anybody else. So by default,
Unless Kell Brook or Earl Spence can prove otherwise, and I do hope. Again, the fight I most want to see is Spence against Crawford.
all right, yeah. Well, let's see what happens there. You know, I'm hopefully that materializes, right?
Retro Boxing will provide ample coverage.
All right.